So this video may be controversial, so don't watch if you have a problem with that. So since I was a kid, I've always been into geography. I've pretty much memorized the entire world map. There's this really cool music video that helped me remember every country in the world. I'll leave a link in the description if you guys are interested in checking it out. So okay, even for how much of a nerd I was, I had this very big obsession with flags. There are a lot of good flags, and there's a lot of so-so flags. And then there was Libya, which for whatever reason has this blank green banner for a flag. What else is there to say but the lack of creativity is truly creative. But then they were able to change it to this much better design, which is not as creative as you think it is. By the way, I find it really annoying when countries change their flag. I mean, what can I do once my collection becomes inaccurate? I've been collecting flag t-shirts since I was like 13. Every time my dad would go travel somewhere, I would always ask for a flag t-shirt for a souvenir. Here's the Hawaii flag t-shirt I got from my cousin recently. Thankfully, there hasn't been any changes in the flag world for like more than a decade. Which actually brings me to the point of this video. Right now, the geography world is really boring. Aside from a few countries changing their names, which is kinda cool, not much has happened. We haven't had a new country in like 9 years now. I've been actively updating myself on the independence referendums for years now, which is basically when places vote if they want to be a country or not. And time again, my hopes were brought up until they were ultimately crushed by a big fat NO. I mean, there's Catalonia, but we can't talk about that yet. But finally, a place I've never heard of until like 2 years ago had a referendum, and for the first time in forever, we might have a new country, guys. You have no idea how excited I am right now. That's how much of a nerd I am. Yeah, it's more than just a vote. There's still politics and documents needed to be ordered. Yeah, whatever. But sadly, there are still places around the world, for one reason or another, just can't be countries. As a kid, I've always wondered why these places aren't countries. I mean, they have a cool flag and everything. So you better believe that little me was super pissed that insert place here wasn't a country. I can't remember why it bothered me so much. It just did. I mean, it was not the end of the world. But every time I look at a world map, especially these ones where you put information and stuff, it always pissed me off that these unshaded places look so out of place. Hence this video. I'm gonna list down the places I think should be countries. But for one reason or another, they aren't. Just a heads up, by no means are these my personal opinions. I mean, I understand the politics and history messiness around all of these countries, or places rather. But these places are just the ones I believe logically would and could be countries. So the fact that I mentioned some of these places doesn't mean I have issues with any of the countries involved. I mean, I may have some issues with some of them, but this video will only tackle the places based on my experience and my memory on the feelings I had about these places not being countries. For example, the fact that I cannot say that French Guyana is a country, but in an alternate universe I can, would really set me off for some reason. Okay, let's start with the big issue. Greenland. I mean, look at it. It's huge, even without Mercator. If I can take a jog around the world's smallest country, why can't Greenland, the largest island, be striving on its own? I mean, look at this flag. It's beautiful, and sort of like a parody of these ones. But obviously, Greenland is short on resources. I mean, for the most part, it's just a frozen rocky desert, so thankfully Denmark has their back. Shout out to all the Greenlanders out there. I would love to visit you guys one day. Greenland is my favorite name for an island by far. I was once told that Greenland got its name by the Vikings in order to trick sea travelers that Greenland would be a lush green island in order to drive people away from Iceland, to keep the beautiful plains and hot springs for themselves. That was probably the biggest prank ever pulled in the history of mankind. Good on you, Vikings. Next up, Taiwan, or the Chinese Taipei. I grew up in the Philippines, so whenever I see a map of my country, it would always say that Taiwan is just above us. I mean, nice flag, beautiful cities, and a functioning government. Taiwan is a country in every aspect but name and politics. Obviously, now I know I started a storm in the comment section. But really, I was just a 10-year-old kid who wanted something interesting to happen in my life. And seeing the birth of a new nation was just fun, in my opinion. So, in the 8th grade, I joined my school's study tour program to the great land of China. So, we were traveling by train, and I was having a casual talk with my Chinese teacher. So while we were having this conversation, I decided to ask her if she thought Taiwan should be a country. And then she quite nervously said no. So we changed the conversation. And then that got me thinking, does the government wiretap whatever we're saying? I can't confirm or deny if this is real, but I know she would say no. Obviously, I know why it's in a country, history and politics and stuff. Also applies to Palestine, which I don't have much I want to talk about. Speaking of talking about, let's go back to Catalonia, which, first of all, cool flag. Like for real, I like the color scheme and everything. But I'm talking about this design, okay? I'm not here to cause more controversy. But I definitely think that Catalonia should be a country if they wanted to. But I know other people might not like it. I'm not too happy with how this played out though. Next up is Puerto Rico. I mean, I am shocked, but I'm not really disappointed that Puerto Rico is in the country. I am, however, really disappointed that Puerto Rico is not a state. They have been fighting for statehood for like decades now. I believe Puerto Rico and DC deserve that promotion. Side note, Hawaii used to be a country. And if you do some research on what happened, it's really sad how it all ended. Another side note, the US wants Greenland to be a state, and I think that sounds cool. Final side note, these territories need a promotion for their own good. And also the Indian reservation. Anyways, back to topic. I just want to give a few honorable mentions to a few places that I didn't have much time to talk about but still need the attention they deserve. There's Western Sahara, which, when you look at a map chart, would almost always be blank. There's this video explaining the history and drama around this area, so I'll leave a link in the description as well. Hope everything's okay over there. There's French Polynesia and Quebec. Love their flags. There's the Faroe Islands, a top 10 destination in my opinion, and should be a country if they wanted to. My favorite islands, Niue and Tokelau. First of all, love their flags. Second of all, if we want them to live another day, we need to fix this global warming thingy. Just for the sake of these Pacific islands. And Maldives. Kosovo, buddy. You're almost there. Antarctica is probably my favorite place I want to visit one day. Should be run by the penguins though. Needs a better flag also. And then there's Kurdistan, which I stan. And I understand. Final honorable mention to Tibet, which, if it wasn't for the politics and religion kind of, would probably be its own country. But what they really want is better autonomy within China. Kinda like what Hong Kong and Macau have, which are actually the final honorable mentions. I can't believe I almost forgot about them. Okay, finally. As a kid, it always pissed me off that the United Kingdom is still a thing. In my little boy head, I always thought that there was exactly zero reason for why the UK should still be a thing, except for its flag. I mean, these four places are so much different from one another. Good on you, Ireland, you made it out alive. Scotland actually wants to leave the UK. I mean, in 2014, they had a vote and they only managed to stay by a tiny margin. I mean, come on! And now they desperately want out because of the whole Brexit thing. Oh well. Yeah, I know it's much more complicated than that. If I had the chance to talk to my younger self, I would say, Not everyone can have their own country, kid. Not even myself, I had to scratch that off my bucket list for good. But just knowing that an ethnic group can't have their own country is just heartbreaking. But unfortunately, it can't be like that for all of us. Some places would struggle on their own, some are at the mercy of politics, and some places just don't give a. I mean, we all have our differences, but we need each other. Hell, look at America. Even countries need other countries. That's why we have an international organization in the United Nations where countries band together in order to move forward for the betterment of everyone. In crises like these ones, we can all stick together and stand as a stronger, more impactful force against anything that comes our way. If you were offended by this video, I'm sorry. But that was not my intention. I mean, the whole point of the video was to be shallow. Now, time to end it in the most shallow way possible.